Well, look at this. It appears Rupert Murdoch has instructed his Wall Street Journal again to rip into Trump over what they've described as his, quote, dumb plot. This being the Justice Department officials going after Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Can't wait to see Trump's Truth Social post claiming that the fellow billionaire bigot also has Trump derangement syndrome.
This morning, a growing number of Republicans lining up to defend Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell as he faces an unprecedented criminal investigation from the Trump administration.
I know Chairman Powell very well. I will be stunned. I will be shocked if he has done anything wrong.
I don't think Jay Powell's a criminal. I think he's a bad Fed chair.
Senator Tom Tillis labeling it amateur hour, saying the investigation calls into question the credibility of the Justice Department. Tillis, a key Republican who also sits on the Senate Banking Committee, threatening to block any of the president's future Fed nominees until the investigation into Powell is resolved.
My message to whoever who went after what I consider to be vindictive prosecution to grow up and give the president better advice.
According to reporting, federal prosecutors issued a criminal subpoena to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell related to questions around Federal Reserve building renovations and budget issues. Now, to be clear, this isn't a normal policy dispute, right? Like, should the rates go up or down? This is the Trump administration treating the chair of the independent central bank like a political target. Because it's apparent Trump is furious that Powell won't do what he wants on interest rates.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2. This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's not new.
So we're going to take.
Not to mention that he keeps blasting Joe Biden for hiring him when, of course, it was Donald Trump. And the Wall Street Journal's editorial board, Murdoch's flagship business paper, responded by calling it, quote, lawfare, and not even the competent kind, more like, quote, lawfare for dummies. And as I've discussed in previous videos, this is where it gets politically dangerous for Donald Trump. Because when the likes of the Wall Street Journal editorial page is calling out his thirst to go after whoever he deems as an adversary, it's a problem. This is not some anti-Trump resistance newsletter. It is one of the most establishment conservative editorial boards in America. And they are the ones saying that this subpoena is reckless, harmful, and outright embarrassing for Donald Trump, warning it could backfire and undermine confidence in the Federal Reserve's independence.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
The Journal's argument is that this wasn't even smart corruption, it was panic corruption. Their theory is that Trump's underlings are trying to impress him by, targeting people he doesn't like Jerome Powell. Because as we know, in Trump world, the only career path is this: do what you think Trump wants before he notices you exist. And the Journal, they're naming names like Bill Pulte and even Jeanine Pirro, a Fox News personality turned U.S. attorney, being linked to the pipeline that produced this mess. I mean, my God, even when Murdoch's once trusted boxed wine enthusiast isn't safe from his scrutiny, you know that he's pulling off the gloves.
So Fed Chair Jerome Powell talks about Fed independence, right? How important do the American people think that is?
Very. And I'll just say, to quote the movie Tootsie, this is one nutty hospital, this back and forth. My goodness gracious. They think it's incredibly important that the Fed acts independently of Donald Trump, and they think it's best for the economy. We're talking about more than 2/3 of adults, 68%, 91% of Democrats, 75% of independents, and even 41%, 2/5 of Trump's base thinks it's important that the Fed acts independently of Trump for the best of the economy. So when you get 41% of Republicans and 91% of Democrats agreeing on something with 75% of independents, you know it is a popular position. The bottom line is the American people vigorously disagree with the President of the United States on this. They want a Fed that acts independently of him because they think it's best for the economy.
So the Trump administration very clearly, to an extent, picking a fight with Jerome Powell, a clear political fight, which has been at play for months, and now perhaps a legal fight as well. Who do the American people sort of pick in that fight?
Donald Trump is losing the political fight to Jerome Powell. I mean, you could just see it right here. Net approval rating per Gallup in December. Trump comes in at negative 23 points on the net approval rating. Way underwater. Jerome Powell, not the most popular guy in the world, but at minus 3 points, he's actually the most popular guy that Gallup polled of any of the politicians, any of the folks in government. He is far more popular than Donald Trump.
When it comes about the economy in general, how's the president doing now?
Yeah, I think this is, of course, a big portion of it, right? It's not just about the cuts. It's also about the economy. And you look at Donald Trump's net approval rating on the economy. He started off at plus 6 points. You go back a year ago. That was the reason why he won a second term in the White House. Look at this now. He is now 19 points underwater, swimming in the deep blue sea. That is a drop, John, of 25 points in just a year's time.
President Trump has made crystal clear that he wants lower interest rates. The Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, is suggesting this entire criminal investigation is over the president's desire to get lower interest rates. What do the prediction markets think about whether they will get lower interest rates?
No, it's not going to work for Donald Trump. Take a look here. The chance that the Fed Reserve maintains interest rates in January, 94%, despite the threats from Donald Trump. It seems that Jerome Powell, the prediction markets think, will hold his ground along with the rest of the Fed.
All right, a lot going on. Congratulations to your Bills. Congratulations on the Patriots. We'll be right back.
And here's the broader pattern. It's not just Murdoch that is disapproving of this. Trump is facing growing resistance from within the Republican Party on multiple fronts, especially when his moves start looking less like policy and more like authoritarian impulse. I mean, this includes GOP lawmakers like Senator Tom Tillis, who has openly criticized Trump-era tactics and has shown a willingness, at least, to break with him when things cross into institutional damage. And of course, Trump just couldn't resist the urge to hit back at him for daring to question his decisions.
Pretty remarkable. You had a speech on the floor of the Senate the other day in which you said that you are sick of stupid. Made a headline in the Washington Post, and you were talking in that speech about the people around the president, not Donald Trump himself. Is he getting bad advice?
I think the president is. I've enjoyed a good relationship with the president. It's probably different from other members. I'm very direct. Look, I spent 20 years in top-tier management consulting. I spent 20 years in legislative politics. I like to think that I can help look around corners.
Yeah.
I see advice here that's not taking care of the president's best interest. The Greenland position is a good example. We need people to make sure the president has a fully weighted set of criteria before he moves forward on some of these policies. I see no path where his aspiration for Greenland occurs unless it's a negotiation and something far short of what he has in mind.
But the headline remains the same. When Murdoch's Wall Street Journal is openly warning you that this will backfire politically, that's not Democrats attacking you. That is your own side saying, hey, mate, you are blowing it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.